So, Fortnite Chapter 7 has been out for 2.5 months now, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like it.
Hello, young lady.
Now, whilst I think the Chapter 7 map is definitely better than the Chapter 5 map, Chapter 5 map is my least favourite Fortnite map of all time, I have noticed that it has fallen into a couple of design cliches, and I am a bit concerned about some parts of the map. First things first, the graphics seem to have calmed down from the absolute vibrant Japanese graphics of Chapter 6, but that's kind of to be expected when you make a chapter based on America. My problem with this is being that I think Epic Games absolutely tops themselves with the absolute gorgeous Chapter 6 map, and when they have to go to a more plain, more natural area like Chapter 7, they're going to have to reverse the graphics a bit to make it seem a lot more natural and less Asian. I'd say a similar thing happened when it transitioned from Chapter 4 to Chapter 5, but the difference is that Chapter 5 just focused on making the graphics so damn realistic that it took away from Chapter 4's cartoony yet absolutely beautifully realistic graphics. It felt like such a massive downgrade from those two. Alright, there's the discussion of the graphics out of the way. Let's talk about the actual map then, shall we? So to start off with, let's talk about one of the new features that this map had, which was the balloons. And I'm going to be honest, the balloons are quite cool in concepts, like being able to go on a higher balloon and just shoot people from above, but they sort of fall into the same trap as the trains, and the fact that they seem cool, but then when you actually use them, it's just like, they don't really change much. Like, the train in Chapter 6 Season 2 was really good, because you could, actually rob the train and fight a boss. But the higher balloons here are just sort of underwhelming, really. As for the locations itself, whilst not being on the levels of bad that was Chapter 5, I feel like some of the locations in Chapter 7 just feel like a copy and paste of each other, especially in the south. Battlewood Boulevard is quite a cool place, but it feels like an inferior seaport city. Sus Studios just feels like a copy of Battlewood Boulevard. Then there's places like Riptides and Bumpy Bay, which kind of feel very similar to each other. It's not like Chapter 5 levels where they'll all literally have the same copy and pasted houses, but it feels like it's going in that direction. As for the rest of the map, with one exception, they all sort of slot into just the weird, forgettable style. I don't remember Classified Canyon. I don't care for Tip Top Terrace. These locations don't really stand out compared to the Chapter 6 map, which we had last year. Wonky Land, however, is actually a really incredible, innovative, and amazing POI that I think Fortnite should do more of going forward. Okay, I lied. Inner Loop Labs... Lethal Labs is the other really good POI on this map, in my opinion, because this one has a sci-fi tech stuff, and then the Dark Voyager comes around and makes it even cooler. It's a really cool POI as well. But yeah, apart from those two really notable exceptions, the rest of the map just feels kind of forgettable, and it's going towards that Chapter 5's way of just being a really forgetful mess.
My dear boy, your perfect intuition is shit.
Nowadays, I never play Fortnite like the actual Battle Royale side of the game by myself, for two simple reasons. One, I've accidentally put myself into absolute sweat lobbies where I cannot really play the game that much, and two, because I just don't find the game fun by myself and I just prefer to play it with friends. But then the day of reckoning came, the 9th of December 2025. Before this date, skill-based matchmaking was based off the worst player in your lobby. For some reason, after this update, they decided to change it to be based off the best player in your lobby, which wouldn't be too bad if my friend wasn't that bad at the game. But the problem is, my friend is actually not that good at the game, so he has to put in my garbage lobbies if he wants to play with me. So the only time he gets to play with people of his skill level is when he's by himself, which is absolutely unfair on both me and him. Believe it or not, there used to actually be a time in Fortnite where there was no skill-based matchmaking and no bots at all, so that means you can have one game where you get absolutely shat on, and then the next game where you are the one shitting on everybody, where it's sort of like a done-by-luck thing. But then they decided to add it in, which I wouldn't mind if it was the worst player, but best player judging it just makes it unfair for everyone else you want to play with, especially if they're low skill of you. End of rant, let's move on to the next subject. The first thing I noticed during this loot pool is that they recycled a lot of previous weapons from previous chapters. All they just did was just give the ability to aim down sights or jump into these weapons as well. So they brought back weapons like the dual micro SMGs and the tactical pistol, and then later on the sovereign shotgun, which I think are all pretty alright additions. But my real problem with the loot pool would be some of the new stuff that they added. For some reason, whenever I use it, the Deadeye AR seems just really weak, but when enemies use it, they seem to just lock on to me straight on. That's probably a skill issue. But man, the arc lightning gun is the most cheesy weapon I have seen since the kneecapper. This thing can just be fired from like a relatively medium high ground distance and bam, you've basically got a free kill due to the immense splash damage that it has. I'm a zero build player, by the way. And then there's the lock on assault rifle. Somebody at Epic Games saw the lock-on pistol and thought, how can I turn this completely balanced weapon into an absolute overpowered behemoth that can kill someone within 2 seconds and comes in all 5 rarities? And so they created a lock-on assault rifle. This thing needs to be gone from the game. It's just absurd. And then we still also have the cheap get-out-of-jail-free card known as the Shockwave Grenades. I agree with Nick30 on this one. Please remove them and replace them with the Crashpad Juniors. Okay, that's it for the loot pool. Let's talk about the gimmicks. Let me get this out of the way. I absolutely despise the new surfing mechanic. Because whenever you see that the minimap does not have a barrel bus trail, you know that you're about to spin the lucky wheel. You can either land at Battlewood Boulevard, or you could be very unlucky and land at this random mountain. I kid you not, this actually happens. Oh, you think the luck stops there? Don't forget about the random bosses with mythic weapons that randomly spawn across the map. That means if you're lucky enough, you can drop right on Human Bill and get his mythic arc lightning gun and absolutely eviscerate everyone. Hooray! Now, to Epic's credit, they have fixed both of these by making them a lot less unbearable. Like the surfing, you can now go to a lot more POIs, and the bosses are not really that powerful anymore, so this is a good fix, and I'm very glad they did it. But the fact that they basically add RNG to the game for a little while was absolutely insane. And for your information, I still absolutely despise the surfing. The only other real gimmick I need to talk about is the rift anomalies, which I think are a pretty neat idea, just randomly switching up and mixing up the game, but I feel like they're a bit undercooked, with the exception of the Stick of Truth one. That was insane. And yeah, that's all I have for this section.
No.
Now time for a quick lightning round for stuff that I think just deserve to be quickly mentioned here. In my opinion, I'm not really a big fan of this battle pass. The only skins I like is the Bride and the Dark Voyager. There are way too many collabs this season and they're really inconsistent in terms of quality. They range from, oh my, this is the best thing I've ever seen, to, get this out of my face. The Winterfest this year was incredibly underwhelming, and the fact that they got rid of stackable presents is absolutely insane. And I thought I'd quickly mention one thing that I noticed when they brought back the MK7. They're using the Chapter 3 model for zoom-in guns, where like they updated it in Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 to actually make the gun like wibble around, zoom, you can actually see your body when using it, and it created like a depth of immersion and realism. But then when they added the MK7 in, they were just using the Chapter 3 model, so it just feels really incredibly out of place. I mean, just look at the gameplay for yourself, it really just shows it all. And those are all the miscellaneous points that I wanted to point out. I really wanted to like Fortnite Chapter 7, but too many things about the game currently really bothers me. I know that the season still has a bit of time left to still develop and grow, but man, this stuff just bothers me a bit too much to want to continue playing this season. So I'm going to have to give this season either a 3 or a 4 out of 10. I can't decide between the two because this season has a lot of promising stuff, but I feel like it fails to deliver on it. However, Season 2, I think, has a chance to turn around Chapter 7 for the best.